The Barbara Bush Houston Literacy Foundation proudly presents a celebration of reading, made possible through the generosity of KPRC2, Phillips 66, and our many local supporters.
Gary Gulman is one of the most popular touring comics, selling out venues nationwide, including Carnegie Hall.
His 5 comedy specials include The Great Depression and Gary Gulman, Born on Third Base, which was released on Max in December. He published his first book, Misfit, Growing Up Awkward in the 80s last year.
A product of Boston, Gary was previously a college football player, an accountant, and a high school teacher.
KPRC2's Derek Shore sat down with Gary Gulman to find out what sparks his comic creativity and to discuss his struggle with mental health.
Gary, congratulations.
Thank you.
On your book. It's your first book, and the moment I picked it up, some names on the back cover jumped out at me. Amy Schumer, Judd Apatow, Seth Meyers, Ira Glass, who's the host of This American Life. You have a lot of fans out there,
yes,
famous and otherwise. Why did you decide that this was the right time to share your story?
Well, nobody had asked me before. I had just come out with a special on HBO that was about my recovery from this crippling depression that found me in the hospital for several weeks. And so I made this special, and it was well received. And then some publishers came to me and asked me if I had any ideas. And I said, well, I've always wanted to write a book chronicling my life from kindergarten through 12th grade, which I've always felt were the years that made me and built my sort of my worldview, my philosophy, my sense of humor, but also provided me with enough trauma to really create off of and lose money in therapy. So they came to me. I had this idea, and it was a dream come true, because since I was a little kid, the thing that got me through a lot of my loneliness and boredom was reading. So I felt so honored to be able to become a part of this class of people who I had admired, writers and authors, since I was capable of understanding that somebody wrote the books that I was reading voraciously.
I think what appeals to me a lot about this book is you're not just highlighting all of the beautiful moments in life. You get into some really intense dark moments in your life, including marrying your wife Sade. Things are fine for a few months, and then suddenly, as you describe in the book, you are experiencing this crippling anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
Why was it important for you to share those really difficult times in the book?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think I felt an obligation when I started to feel well, and not just feel well, but to feel that I was reaching my potential in terms of how much I could enjoy my life, that I was what people call happy, that had been elusive for so long. I felt obligated to share a story of hope, and also the steps and the different treatments, including medicine and electroconvulsive therapy, which has gotten a horrible stigma because of a movie in the 1970s called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, where Jack Nicholson is violently shocked, but that's not how it works. Yeah, and it's actually the gold standard of treating treatment-resistant depression. So I felt an obligation to share that story with people so that they could feel some hope, and it's been so beautiful to see people after my shows or hear from people in emails saying that because of my special and because of my openness about it, that they've gotten treatment, they've used either medicine or therapy or ECT or some of the other treatments that are available, and so that makes me feel very, very proud, and that I almost feel, I'm not an especially religious person, but I look at it as kind of a blessing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you find that the book in some way is also potentially therapy, not just therapeutic for you in the process of writing it, but for those out there who are struggling with a really hard time? Maybe they've experienced deep depression and anxiety like you did.
Yes.
You're reaching a broader audience by writing this book.
Yes, I definitely think that what what books always brought to me, and either memoirs or novels, was this understanding of what it was like to be in somebody else's shoes, and it's the basis of empathy and understanding and having compassion that I think novels and memoir and reading in general about other people's lives can bring you. And it never occurred to me that I was a person who people thought had it all, and that couldn't believe that somebody who had so much going for me, they would say, I never believed this, but that you had so much going for you and you were depressed made me feel less guilty about being depressed. A lot of people think that they can achieve their way out of feeling bad about themselves, and then I personally read a autobiography by Bruce Springsteen, in which he talked about being so depressed he couldn't get out of bed. And I remember thinking, but you're Bruce Springsteen. Isn't that enough to make you feel good about yourself? But that's not how it works. It's biological, it's chemical, and it has nothing to do with your achievements. Elvis Presley famously was very depressed and troubled. So I think when people stop blaming themselves for feeling lousy and they understand that's not their fault, I think that's a very powerful and important lesson for people to understand.
I think so too. And you can understand why people would look at you and think, like, this guy has made it. You've been on massive shows, Last Comic Standing, Stephen Colbert, 2 HBO specials. Now you've written a book.
You can download a book of 400 pages in 8 seconds. Compare that to the delivery system I grew up with, the Scholastic Book Club.
Are there moments when you step back and you think of kindergarten age Gary and reflect on everything you have accomplished despite your struggles?
It's interesting because I think about these traumas in my life ruined me, but they also made me, in that I was able to redeem them through stories and jokes, and so this suffering turned into something that was actually, it was almost alchemy, where I was able to turn this into comedic gold, I guess, and that I was able to make it funny. And so, was it worth it? I just wish it didn't last so long, but if it brings comfort to people, and that's what I think it has, then yes, I think it was worth it.
I think that's beautiful, that bringing comfort to other people is a priority for you.
I've come to a conclusion about our roles on Earth as trying to help each other get through this, no matter what it is. And it was something that, of all the things that I've read in philosophy, Kurt Vonnegut's son said, we're here to help each other through this, whatever it is, and that really resonated with me. And so, using my particular gifts of writing and jokes, I hope I can make it easier for people to get through this, whatever it is.
We'll get through it. We will. Gary, thank you so much.
This was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. You asked great
This was
questions.
lovely.
Thank you.
Go to barbarabushhouston.org to learn more about the Barbara Bush Houston Literacy Foundation and to explore ways you can get involved. And thank you for joining us for a celebration of reading.